Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for allowing me to join you in today's board meeting. My name is Stacy Randall, and I am one of the managers here at Spokes of Hope Worldwide. My supervisor, Greg, has asked me to come in and join you for a few minutes of today's meeting, as he has tasked me with leading the effort in the partnership between Spokes of Hope and Society for New Americans. So thank you again for allowing me to join you, and I will make sure that I'm brief in the time that I'm with you. If you look in front of you on the table, each of you has a packet of information that has been prepared for your review. That packet of information includes an outline of the training program that we would like to roll out to employees from Society for New Americas, as well as employees from Spokes of Hope Worldwide. That packet also contains a cultural competence training handout, which the employees will be able to keep with them at their desk and refer to after the training. It has a wealth of information about cultural competence, how to become cultural competent, what the impacts are on communication, etc., things of that nature. We believe that in order to be successful in this partnership with SNA, it's important that employees of both companies understand and respect the differences and diversity of the other company. I can tell you that I've had to deal with diversity a lot in the past. At a previous company, I was a manager for a gentleman who was visually impaired, and it involved learning different ways for me to communicate with him, and first to understand and respect the different communication style and the different behaviors or needs that this gentleman was going to have in order for me to build a really good working relationship with him. That is something that is going to be necessary in order for this partnership to be successful. The partnership's important to both companies. It will allow Spokes of Hope to branch into the area of globalization, and it will allow you, SNA, to accomplish your mission of increasing access to education within your different cultural communities that you're already a part of. So in the packet there, if I can refer you to the first 2 pages, which has your outline, and that information will allow you to know about the things I'm going to talk about here briefly, and give you a place where you can maybe jot some notes or questions that you might have if you want to follow up with me or Mr. Gears on that later. So what I'm going to be reviewing with you briefly here is the importance of becoming culturally competent, how reflecting on your own experiences is helpful, and what role you can take in ensuring the success of the partnership. So this will almost be like a mini training for you, if you will, so that you can understand what the training program would look like for the employees of both SNA and SOHW once we have finalized the partnership and we're ready to roll that out. So the first thing is that we understand, and we want everyone else to understand, that it's important to be culturally competent. So the first thing that comes to mind, I'm sorry, go ahead. That's exactly where I was going. What does culturally competent mean? Being culturally competent means understanding the different cultures, beliefs, and values of those that you're doing business with. So what that means is that we want employees of SNA to understand the different culture of SOHW, and we want employees of SOHW to understand the different cultures and beliefs of SNA. Only by each person trying to understand the other person better will the success of the partnership be obtained. So as you can see there, according to Duggan from 2011, it's important to develop the skill of creating cross-cultural relationships. So understanding what it means to be culturally competent is the first step. Then you need to understand, how do I become culturally competent? So what can I do? So the first thing that you can do is to understand that Creating cross-cultural relationships is the responsibility of everyone at both companies. We all share an equal role and must make a conscious effort to work towards that goal. If there's anyone that's not on board, then the partnership is not going to be successful. So how do you create that cross-cultural communication and build that cross-cultural relationship? Well, the first thing that you can do is understand that it's important to focus more on the other person than on yourself when thinking about cultural competence. When you're trying to build a new business relationship, it's not so important to push your ideas on your new partner, but rather to understand and respect the ideas that your partner has, so that they can then feel valued in the relationship and understand that they are going to actually gain something in a positive manner from being in this business relationship with you. In order to do that, we have found that reflecting on your own experiences is helpful. So as I began to do research with this program, I reflected back on the experiences I had with the gentleman I mentioned who was visually disabled. Reflecting on those experiences helped me to start thinking about what I have to do to remain culturally competent. So I'm going to challenge you here for just a moment. I want you to think back on a time when you had to deal with someone new and it involved getting a better understanding of them first. What did you do to make sure that you could communicate with them? So think about that for just a moment, if you would. I see a lot of light bulbs going off and head nodding happen. Would anybody like to share what you did? No? That's okay. So here's something that probably came to mind. Think about verbal and nonverbal communication. Yes, I see the head nods going. So you probably have had some situations where you had to maybe think about the nonverbal communication that you were sending, think about the body language, if you will, the emotions that you may have been showing on your face. We often forget that our face is a huge sign of nonverbal communication. Hand gestures. Hand gestures is something else that people often don't think about. We talk with our hands. Often, you guys see me doing it now. We talk with our hands, we make hand gestures, we use symbols with our hands, and we just think that it's okay to do that, right? And in most situations it is. However, hand gestures mean different things depending on the country, and you can see more about that if you follow the link to Passero from 2002. Hand gestures, a simple thumbs up. In the US, a simple thumbs up is a great sign. Means you're doing well, means I'm on board, means okay, everything positive. But in other countries, that hand gesture is actually a sign of disrespect. So you want to be careful about what you're doing with your hands when you're building this cross-cultural relationship, because you don't want to offend someone. You should also, to avoid offending someone, take time to learn about different cultures. Do your research. Learn about the people that you work with. By understanding their culture, that will go a long way in helping you to avoid doing things that might upset or offend them, which might then cause you not to have the best working relationship. One thing that I've learned is that successful business professionals take responsibility for finding out about another culture before engaging in a new business relationship, not after. So what can you do to make sure that this partnership is successful? Well, it's important that you understand what your role is in the partnership, first off. As employees of SNA, those employees will represent you at all times, and they should carry themselves in a manner that doesn't jeopardize the relationship that you have. The same thing goes for employees of Spokes of Hope. They represent SOHW at all times, and we expect our employees to carry themselves in a manner that will not jeopardize this relationship. Also, understanding fully how cultural competence works. We ask that they make sure that they have a good understanding of the company's values and that they find ways to associate our values with your values. We want them to look for commonalities that they can build on. When they find differences, we're going to encourage them to talk to an employee or representative from your company and to get an understanding of why that's one of your values. We feel that that will help to build a stronger relationship, and we're going to encourage employees on both sides of the table to do the same thing. So now that I've discussed these points, I'm going to challenge you again. I'm going to challenge you to think about that brief information, that brief overview that I've talked about, and speak to somebody else about it. Get their opinions, get their thoughts on what cultural competence means. Start doing your research to see what can you do to enhance your knowledge. Again, everyone has a responsibility to be culturally competent. Will you take your responsibility seriously? Not just here at work, but in your personal life too. What will you do to make sure that you are practicing cultural competence on a daily basis? Again, remember that in order for this to work, it's important that everyone become culturally competent. A big piece of that is to do self-reflection. Think about your current values. Think about someone else's values. Think back on times when you had difficult communications. Think about successful communications. And also, remember to understand your role in this partnership. I encourage you to talk to others about cultural competence. Research the information online, build your knowledge. The more you know, the better your position will be as we go forth into this partnership. So again, I would like to thank you for allowing me to come and spend a few minutes here discussing this with you. Again, you have a handout, and that handout is what we will be using to train all of the employees. I would be more than happy to speak with any of you individually. If you have any specific questions for me, Mr. Gears can let you know how to best get a hold of me, and he's very familiar with what my schedule is. If I can answer any questions for you, I'm happy to do that, and I'm definitely looking forward to a successful partnership. Thank you again for listening, and have a great day.